Hi, good morning everyone. This is Kumar. Welcome to BBC channel. Now I am explain about QuickSort. So QuickSort is another the best sorting technique used to sorting the data. The QuickSort is like a match sort. QuickSort also use divide and conquer method. It means it is also using for the divide and conquer algorithm. In this, see generally divide and conquer method or divided into sub-arrays. See generally match sort are using for the uh, total number of elements by 2. But the quicksort uses based on the picked pivot element, it can divide into two parts. What is pivot? The pivot element is one of the element in unsorted array. The choose any of the unsorted element you can choose. Maybe some of the people pick always the first element is in a pivot element. Some of the members are picked last element is a pivot element. Some of the members is pick middle of the element is a pivot element. Actually, the pivot element you can choose any value of the unsorted element. In this picked pivot element, based on that the unsorted array is divided into two parts. With less than the pivot element is one subarray and greater than the pivot element is another subarray. Same as repeat the all the unsorted subarrays also apply the same rule to up to sorted array. I consider some of the example. I am choosing 7 elements, that is the 65, 35, 74, 78, 56, 32 and 45. The mainly the two rules, that is the based on the pivot element after the iterations, based on the pivot element all the lesser values are moved to the left side and the greater values move to the right side. Based on that rules, follow the some of the main two conditions. The first condition, increment I as long as it pointing the value is less than the pivot element. It means in case you can choose first element of the array. In case a picked pivot element is lesser value, move to index next value. In case is greater value, cannot move indexing position of I. At the same way, the another point, decrement j as long as it is position of the value which is greater than the pivot element. It means j is representing for the end of the indexing. Is compare the picked pivot element. In case it is a greater value, move to previous position. Otherwise, it is cannot change the index. It is the indexing pointing mainly these 2 points are followed. Now, the two conditions are fail, I and j positions. Either elements at I and j positions or at j and pivot elements are swapped based on the other rules. It means if the position value of I is less than j, then swap I and j values. If the position value of I is greater than the j, then swap the j and pivot values. Okay, based on the rules, the quicksort apply. Now I am already choose N7, that is representing for the number of elements. The values are 65, 35, 74, 78, 56, 32 and 45. Now I am choosing the first element is pivot element, that is array of 0th position, that is 65. I am choosing the pivot element of the array. I is representing for the first element, that is the a of 1, that is representing for the 35, and the last element index is representing for the j, that is 45. Previously already discussed, if picked pivot element is lesser value, move indexing I. If based on the pivot element j positioning value is greater value, move to previous in j indexing. Based on that rules, I representing value is 35, so it is lesser value compared with the 65, so move to next value. But j is representing for the 45, pivot element 65, so it is lesser value, so cannot move the indexing of j. Now at present I is representing for the 74. In this case, the both I and j indexing values based on the condition, both conditions are fail. Now based on that condition, swap I and j values. That means the 45 value is stored to the I indexing value. I indexing value 74 is stored to the j indexing value. Now swap. After the swapping of array 65, 35, 45, 78, 56, 32 and 74. Now again check. I is representing for the 45, J is representing for the 74. So compare with the 65, I is lesser value, so move to next indexing. The same way, J is representing 74, since it is a greater value of pivot element. So it is also change the indexing value, so decrease the J. Now I is representing for the 78. The 78 is a greater value, so cannot increase the indexing value. At the same way, J is representing for 32, so it is a lesser value of the pivot element. So both conditions are fail. Based on that condition, swap I and J values. It means I position stored to the 32, J position is stored to the 78. After that swapping, the array values are 65, 35, 45, 32, 56, 78 and 74. Now I value is representing 32, J indexing value is representing 78. Now both conditions are true, so I minus minus, I is representing 56, J decrement, so that is representing for the 56. Now again check the I 56, compare the pivot element is also smaller value, so again it is increase. So now I is representing 78, J representing 56, but in this case the condition is 2 are true, so it means the I indexing value compared with the J indexing value, I is a greater value. Now the condition is true, condition 2 is true. Now swap the J and pivot value. Okay, it means pivot is representing for the 0th position, J is representing for the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 56 and 65 are interchanged in this case. Based on the condition 2, after the swapping, 56, 35, 45, 32, 65, 78 and 74. Now pivot element is middle of the array. Based on the pivot element, the array is divided into two parts, left array and right array. That is, the left array is representing for the sub array 1 and right array is representing for the sub array 2. The above process apply to the same sub array 1 and sub array 2 also. Now I am choosing sub array 1. That means that is a 56, 35, 45 and 32 and another array 78 and 74. Now choosing first sub array, that is 56, 35, 45 and 32. Now again I am choosing the first element, that is 0th element, that is pivot, that is 56. I is representing 35 and J is representing the last value, that is 32. Now compare with the pivot element, 35 is a lesser value, so index I index is increased, but J it is also lesser value, so cannot decrease the J. Now I is representing 45, compared with the 56, that is also lesser value, so again it increase I. Now I is representing 32. In this case, I is lesser indexing position of the J, less than or equal to. In this case, apply the condition 2, swap j and pivot element. That is the pivot first position value move to the last position value is moved to the first position. After the swapping, the array values are 32, 35, 45 and 56. Based on the pivot element, the left array and right array. Right array, no array. Left array is in a sub array 1. Again choose the sub array, that is 32, 35, 45. Now choose first element is in a pivot element. I is representing 35, j is representing 45. Now compare with the 32 and 35, it is a greater value, and j is representing 45, it is also greater value, so decrease the j position. Now j is representing 35. Now j is also representing value is greater value of the pivot element. Now again decrease the j. J at position is representing 32. In this case, I indexing value is lesser of j indexing. So in this case, based on the condition 2, swap j1 pivot element. In this case, the pivot element again stored with the same position, that is the 32, 35 and 45. After the swapping 32, 35 and 45. In this case, the pivot element is representing for the first element, so again left and right values are divided. In this case, the right values, it is sub array, that is 35 and 45. Now choose the sub array 35 and 45. In this case, the first element is pivot element, I and j also representing for the same positions, that is 45. J is greater value, so j is decreased. So in this case, again I indexing value is lesser of j indexing value. So based on the condition 2, again change the j and pivot value. In this case also store the same positions of the pivot value. Now again based on the pivot element, the right array is a sub array, that is it's a single value, so it is also sorted value. The single value is a sorted value, so it cannot apply the quicksort method. Now choose previous first right array, that is the 78 and 74. The first value 0th position, that is 78. I and j is representing for the 74. J is lesser value, I is 74, so it is a lesser value, so you increase the I. So out of index, so is lesser of I is indexing value is lesser of j value. So j and pivot based on the condition 2 are swapped. That is the first position is 74 and second position is 78. Now based on the pivot element, the left array and right array. Now in this only for the left array, that is the single element, that is 74. So it is single element is also already sorted. After the completion of the applying all the conditions, the array are sorted. The finally sorted elements are stored in the array, that is 32, 35, 45, 56, 65, 74 and the 78. This is the method to apply the quicksort. The mainly note on the points. Based on the pivot element, all the elements are sorted, that is the left and right sub array. Based on the pivot element, all the values stored to the smaller values are stored to the left array and greater values are stored to the right array. Based on the conditions, you can sort all the elements. Thank you.